Today we're going to talk about Uptime Pro's parts request feature. We'd like to spend a little bit of time with you going over the features on the slide, and then we'll actually switch to a live view. So first off, parts request, handling parts request, is actually done typically from the technician. When the technician wants to request a part from the bay, we try to keep them efficiently working in the bay and not having to chase parts down. So with the utilizing of Uptime Pro, the technician or anyone on behalf of the technician can actually create the parts request. They can do that from the RO view by clicking on the wrench, which is a parts request, or from the three dots in the drop down on the shop pad view, adding a parts request. And you can actually open that up. The way the parts are requested really is up to the particular dealership. Sometimes they want the part name, sometimes they want the part number, but when the part request comes to the parts team, it will have the RO details on it, the VIN, it will have the estimate reference for there, the customer detail, as well as the make, model, and vehicle number, which should be easy for them to work with. Once the request comes in old Uptime Pro, it used to just send an email. Today's Uptime Pro 2.0 sends it into a parts request view. So we now have a new dashboard in Uptime Pro for handling a parts request and making that much easier and more efficient on behalf of the parts team. They actually open then the parts request function, change statuses within there. They have a link directly into the vehicle number and get to the information, be able to look up the parts right from that, as well as the ability to open the actual RO details there too. When a new parts request is in, rather than have a parts counter person stare at a screen and wait for something to pop up, we can provide a parts request dashboard view that's not interactive, but it can be a small screen that's in the parts back counter area and be able to notice when a new request comes in just by flagging a line up there. Once someone notices that line is there, then the parts team can jump into action by going to the My Branch Parts Request view right within Uptime Pro. Again, from there, they actually then can open that parts request and be able to handle it. Have a link there to the repair order as well as to the vehicle number. When you click on that vehicle number, it's going to take you to the VIN Services tab in Uptime Pro, which will allow you to open Parts Pro and do that parts lookup. You'll see the details of the parts being requested, and then also be able to change the status. Now, we also have a couple other boxes in here. They can be marked as an urgent one. PRQ, Parts Request Handled, is a great indicator to let the technician know that you have it, you're working on it, and you'll be able to fulfill it shortly. If you have comments or notes, you can do a couple of things. You can put comments down here in the parts request screen, or you could even utilize Uptime Pro's text messaging feature and text the technician or email them, whatever you typically do within your business. Once the request is done, you can click Fulfilled, or you can actually switch it to Close. Close would then actually remove it from the view in the My Branch Parts Request as well as in the dashboard view. So a couple of recommendations that we did when we put the parts request feature together. We said, if the status is handled, PRQ handled, means I have your request and I'm starting to work on it. That's a quick indicator that, hey, somebody is actually reading my request and I'm starting to have some action happen. Fulfilled means the parts request is complete. That can be whatever your dealership deems as complete. Open, it's a brand new request. Nobody's touched it, handled it, or done anything with that. Awaiting approval could be an internal mechanism that you can work with. If you notice, when we do the parts request, it still actually sends an email. If you wanted to copy your approver for a parts request in that email, you could certainly do that and bring them and be part of this process. Canceled means we canceled the request. Closed, again, that removes the parts request from the dashboard and the shop pad view. Estimate or estimate complete. Typically, if we have to price a part out to get an estimate to a customer, that's what that would be used for. And then again, in progress means that the part request is in process. On order means that I don't have it. It's ordered. Again, the parts request system in Uptime Pro today does not interface with the DMS, so all parts ordering and handling of that parts request is done through the DMS. So for today's demo, we're going to use a service advisor view for creating a parts request. I'll click on these three dots here on the left-hand side of the screen, and then I can add a parts request. And you can add multiple parts requests. You'll notice that we're just going to put in a test here, quantity, part number, and move it along from there. If I need to cancel it, I can click that X button, or if I need to add another line, I just add another line to that particular job. Adding the box, whether it's a warranty job or something that requires a core, and then if there's multiple lines in the job, I can actually choose which line and that part request is being set up for. So we send the request. And once that request is accepted and moved on, then we will actually be able to see that in the parts request board. So when we refresh what's coming through here, as the parts request comes through, as the parts request is submitted, we can now look at the dashboard view of the parts request board, see that a new parts request has popped up and requires our attention. So we go to the shop pad view, and the parts department, rather than looking at all branch active ROs, they make a selection of my branch parts requests, which then will list them the open parts requests that are there for them to handle. Again, they can open the RO, but more importantly, they actually open the parts request and can interact with it there. The request that we put together here, you notice when I did that original one, I didn't put a description in the one line, so that would be bad for me. But now I'm going to mark it as handled. I can do that here and save it. Or from the My Branch Parts Request view, you can actually click in the PRQ handle box and see that there as well. Once I've handled it, it puts my name and contact or who's handled it in the handled by column. So we come back to the actual parts request itself. We see that we've got it in an open status, but we mark it as handled, so someone knows that we're working on it. I can click on the VIN, which will take me to the vehicle detail page and be able to open Parts Pro, or again, I can also open the RO from there as well. Once I'm done with this and I've filled it in the DMS and charged it to the job, I can change the status now to closed or fulfilled. Either one will actually make that work. Fulfilled is a checkbox here, and then that will be saved. Metrics today are being stamped when the parts request is open, when we click on PRQ handle, and when we click fulfilled. Those would be the three timestamps that we would have in our reporting structure as we work through utilizing the parts request features. To get rid of that from the line, I change it to closed and modify that to close, save it. It'll make sure that I want to close it. Once it's closed and I do a refresh, it should remove that line from the My Branch Parts Request. It should also remove it from the dashboard view as well. So we'll refresh this here, and you'll see that goes away. So that completes our session for today on Parts Request. We thank you for your time and hope you have a great 2020.